So Putin's Russia is sitting there trying to tell me that this Ukraine is actually a puppet regime, U.S. puppet regime and NATO puppet regime for the last 8 years. For 8 years, since 2014. So they're saying that was a coup d'etat. They're saying that 2014 was a coup d'etat because I thought it was a Euromaiden Revolution. Because if it's a Euromaiden Revolution, well, then that's not a coup d'etat now, is it? If it's a revolution and America is supporting the revolution, if America starts the revolution, okay, that's different. Not really. If America is the powder keg to the revolution, it was the people. It was the. Okay, so I watched Democracy Now! It seems to me that it was a Euromaiden Revolution. 8 years ago, you had a Democracy Now! Clip where, in under Barack Obama, 2014, 2015, you had millions of Ukrainian people who were pissed off about this European Union versus Moscow deal. You have a lot of Ukrainians who like Russia and a lot of Ukrainians who like the West. But the way that the country was taken over, Yanukovych was taken over, but he had violated the Constitution multiple times. It started out as a protest movement. You got millions of people, and it was all across the board. All across, you had men and women, Jews and Muslims, working class and professionals. And the demands of the Euromaiden protest was the rule of law and normality. They wanted things to return to normal, and they wanted the rule of law. They wanted the goddamn leaders of the nation to obey the damn law. Now, it was, there was all over the country, the opposition was taking over headquarters. So there was, by force. But Yanukovych had violated the Constitution multiple times. You got this protest movement. You got millions of people that's, appealing to all sectors of society. They had tested the people of Ukrainian, and only 4% of the Ukrainians want to leave the country. 1% is normal. There's more percentage of West Virginians that want to leave West Virginia than there were people that want to leave Ukraine. So only 4% of Ukrainians want to leave the country in 2014. So 96% like Ukraine. The Ukrainians are Ukrainians. Ukraine is for the Ukrainians. And Ukrainians need to live in Ukraine. So when Ukraine was taken over by the revolution, the Euromaiden Revolution, it wasn't possible that Ukraine could split up in the East and West. A lot of the representatives came from the South and the Southeast. The only way that Ukraine could be split in half is only with outside intervention. The person who first started the demonstrations was a Muslim. The protest movement, the Euromaiden movement, were millions of people. So it began by a Muslim. And then you had Kyiv students from Kyiv show up. And then you had Red Army veterans show up. The first person to die for the Euromaiden Revolution was an Armenian. The second person to die was a Belarusian. So you got students, Red Army veterans, you got Armenians, you got Belarusians. You got men and women, Jews and Muslims, working class and professionals, all on the side of the rule of law and normalcy. And fuck Yanukovych. He signed that fucking deal. He was supposed to be the European Union, but instead he fucked over the European Union and he took a big ass bribe from Moscow. So instead of, maybe splitting the difference, saying, okay, I'll be friendly to Russia and the European Union, Yanukovych said he's just going to bow down to Moscow. He's going to suck Putin's dick. And half the fucking country didn't like it. At least half. What's going to lead to a change of government when Yanukovych really fucks up is when he does a Sniper Massacre. He does a Sniper Massacre, just starts shooting protesters, just mass fucking murder. There were two people who were killed. One was Polish and another one was a left-wing ecologist, a Russian speaker. So a Russian-speaking left-wing ecologist, a Polish person. What the hell is Yanukovych killing? You know, Polish and Russians, and this is Ukraine is a multi-ethnic, multi-polar, multi. It's a lot of diversity in Ukraine. So when it comes to, was it a coup d'etat or a Euromaiden Revolution? There's a lot of evidence to suggest that it was a Euromaiden Revolution. Now, while it's getting started, can America be financing it and dropping weapons here and there? Yeah, they could. Absolutely. In fact, that's totally fine. It's a lot better than going into the country and dictating what you think. Instead, you're giving the side that you like better weapons and money and, access to resources and shit. So that's a non-violent way of picking a side, but also keeping a little bit of distance away in case you're wrong. So was it a Euromaiden Revolution or a coup d'etat? I think it was a Euromaiden Revolution. You have a lot of people talking about neo-Nazis and a coup d'etat and this and that, but that's what the opposition figures were saying. The end result, I guess, is the same. The government in Kyiv was more friendly to the European Union than it was to Moscow, and now it's reversed, right? So they had reversed Yanukovych, throw that, Russian lover out, and then you brought this, I guess Zelensky. There's somebody else, I think, before Zelensky came in. And they had elections. So they had actually, I don't know how legitimate the Ukrainian elections are, but I bet you they're way more legitimate than the damn Russian elections. Those fucking elections are a goddamn joke. Russia wouldn't know a fair election, a free and fair election, if it took a shit in their eye. So the end result is that the government in Kyiv was more friendly to the European Union than it was to Moscow. And so that's good for, American interest and the West interest. And it had reversed from the way it was before. So, of course, Russia's going to be mad about that. And now Russia just, reversed that. So we just kind of keep going back and forth. It almost seems like we should just split fucking Ukraine down the middle. Just split Ukraine down the fucking middle. Have both sides, the East and West, fucking vote. Do you want to be a part of Russia? Do you want to be your own country? What the fuck? What do y'all want? So, yeah, it seems to me that it was a Euromaiden Revolution. At least there's, evidence that there seems to be way more thoughtful. I mean, what kind of Ukraine is Putin gonna? A fucking county that's, Ukraine is now a county, a part of Russia. You're not your own nation anymore, Ukraine. Now you're a county. Ukraine has always been a fucking country my entire life. So if people could just say, well, Ukraine never was a country. Ukraine always was somebody else's country. What other parts of the map can you just... Do you think Guatemala was always a part of Brazil? Do you think Madagascar was always a part of China? Do you think Siberia was always a part of Alaska? I mean, right is right and wrong is wrong. So, anybody, want to fly me out to Ukraine? I will go. I will fight the Russians. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So, if they could wipe out a country that's always been a country, then every country on the face of the planet needs to be worried. Unless you're stupid. Unless you assume the Nazis who just, took your Jewish neighbors out of their houses, you're going to assume that they'll never do that to you. The only way they wouldn't do that to you is if you become a Nazi yourself. And frankly, I mean, if you become a Nazi yourself, then you've sold your damn soul. But that seems to be the only way you could say those Nazis will never hurt you. because you're a Nazi, that's the only way that'll. Because if you're not a Nazi, it's only a matter of fucking time. It's only a matter of fucking time. That's why you need the presence of justice in order to have peace in a society. Oh, you have a bunch of criminals running around, Nazis just doing whatever the fuck they want to do. There's no presence of justice. But if you have the presence of justice, well, okay, if somebody wrongs another person, well, then, justice will prevail. We'll get justice and, the wrongs will be righted. But if you got Nazis doing whatever the fuck they want to do, well, there's no presence of justice whatsoever. Might is right, so fucking get in line, you fascist motherfucker. Nobody's being good. It's only the strong out here. And that's just a war of every man. That's a Hobbesian state of nature. A war of every man versus every man.